I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Hey everybody, this is Jason Dean with the JoBlo Movie Network. People get terminated from their jobs all the time, but let us not forget that acting is still just a job, and even the most gifted actors can get fired just like the rest of us. Let's count down our top 10 actors who were fired. Number 10 is Sylvester Stallone, who was fired from Beverly Hills Cop. Man, what a different movie that would have been. In fact, that movie eventually became Cobra. When Stallone was hired on, he rewrote the script and made it into a dark, gritty action movie. But just 2 weeks before filming started, apparently he was fired for a variety of reasons, one of which was a disagreement about what kind of orange juice he was going to have in his trailer. But the official story was budgetary reasons based on the action set pieces he wanted to do in the movie. Of course, Eddie Murphy was brought in and the script was rewritten to fit his style, and I think we're all a bit better for that. Number 9 is Anne Hathaway from Knocked Up. I'm not sure how that would have turned out, but it would have had a different vibe for sure. Apparently Anne was fine with the whole script except for the final birthing scene. She considered it far too graphic and repeatedly asked for it to be toned down. Judd Apatow clearly had a different vision and was committed enough to it to the point of letting her go and hiring on Katherine Heigl. I honestly think this decision was not really bad for either of them in the end. Harvey Keitel as the lead in Apocalypse Now? Well, it almost happened. In fact, it did happen. For about 2 weeks of filming, Francis Ford Coppola was giving direction on military maneuvers, jargon, and other elements, but Keitel respectfully disagreed with some of it. That's not a bad thing because Keitel was an ex-Marine and had first-hand knowledge of what would really take place in an environment like this. They butted heads for the 2 weeks to the point of Keitel being fired over it. While the movie might have been more accurate with Keitel's influence, it apparently wasn't necessary for the final product since it was nominated for Best Picture. Number 7 is a bit of a surprise. Ryan Gosling is kind of a darling of Hollywood right now. The ladies love him and men admire him. He can basically do no wrong. But even the best ones can get fired if they have a different vision than the director. This was exactly the case with The Lovely Bones. Chosen for the lead role initially, Gosling showed up to the set for the first day of shooting weighing an extra 60 pounds based on what he thought the character should look like. Peter Jackson had a very different look in mind, one that apparently looked a lot more like Mark Wahlberg, since that's who ended up with the role. Maybe Gosling should have asked Jackson what he had in mind before putting on so much weight. Number 6 is Christian Bale from American Psycho. Now I know what you're saying. Hey Jason Dean, Christian Bale was in that movie. How could he have been fired? Well, here's the deal. Bale was initially offered the role, but the production company decided to go with Leonardo DiCaprio instead. But DiCaprio wanted to make the character way less of a psychopath. That didn't work for the script, so he ended up bailing. Then they cast Ewan McGregor. Christian Bale himself then managed to convince McGregor to quit the project, so the producers ended up having to rehire Bale once again. Crazy, huh? At number 5 is a classic, and one I didn't know about before this list. Jean-Claude Van Damme was hired to play the alien from Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger way back in 1987. He apparently didn't realize the Predator was going to be invisible for a good percentage of the time, nor did he realize that he was basically little more than a special effect, having to wear a red lycra suit. He soon grew tired of not being able to shine as an actor and demanded special attention. He was promptly replaced by Kevin Peter Hall, who was over 7 feet tall and gave the alien the large build we all know him for. At number 4 is a very well publicized firing by Steven Spielberg, which, if you gotta be fired by somebody, it might as well be the best. Megan Fox was the eye candy for the Transformers franchise prior to all of the name-calling and negative accusations she publicly stated about director Michael Bay, including the analogy of him being like Hitler. Well, Steven Spielberg, being a Holocaust sympathizer and the franchise's executive producer, didn't take too kindly to her remarks and had her contract terminated immediately. Yikes. Stuart Townsend lands at number 3 for his termination from the Lord of the Rings franchise. Townsend trained for 2 months in combat and swordsmanship after he was cast as Aragorn in the Fellowship of the Ring. However, he was fired the day before filming started for, get this, looking too young. That's it! The guy did nothing wrong. He apparently just wasn't the right fit for the part, and no one realized it until he walked on the set. He was promptly replaced with Viggo Mortensen, who became the Aragorn we all know now. At number 2, we could have gotten a very different version of Hick Hicks from James Cameron's Aliens. The Hicks we know, of course, is Michael Biehn, but he was actually the replacement. An actor by the name of James REMAR was originally cast as the male lead. He hasn't been in any major roles, mostly supporting roles, but in some big-name movies. Generally, the guy has had a great voice acting career, but things could have taken off for him with the role of Hicks had he not been busted for possession of drugs while filming. He was fired 2 weeks into production. Tough break. For our number one, we have to go back to the future. Eric Stoltz was originally hired to be Marty McFly and could have completely changed the vibe of the Back to the Future franchise from what we know today. Michael J. Fox was the first choice for the role, but his commitment to family ties prevented him from working within their film schedule. So, Eric was the next best thing. But clearly he wasn't, according to Robert Zemeckis. Stoltz was a fine dramatic actor, but didn't have the quirkiness for a comedy of this style. What's worse, so the story goes, is that they made up their mind to fire Stoltz after 3 weeks or so of filming and let him continue in the role for another week or more before giving him his marching orders. By then, Fox was able to work his schedule a bit better to finally take the role that we all know now. So there's our top 10 actors fired from movies. I'm Jason Dean for the JoBlo Movie Network, and thanks for watching.